Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 2 of our F1 2003 career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live over the weekend from Australia, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. The start of the new season, and it certainly was an interesting one. McLaren, Ferrari, Williams all look to be there or thereabouts in terms of performance. Michael Schumacher took the win after we were put on a little bit of a bot strategy by the Ferrari team. Juan Pablo Montoya and Fernando Alonso each on their debut for Williams, walking away with a double podium there. And McLaren, yeah, Kimi Raikkonen looked incredibly fast, but again, put on this similar strategy to myself, really did screw him over as well. But yeah, I must admit, it's good to see Michael Schumacher back at the top of the World Championship. And Ferrari as well, leading the Constructors, of course. That's one of the other big goals that I still want to achieve over the course of this season. Of course, if you're not already, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel as well. And if you want to get early access to these videos, click the join button down below. It costs just £1 a month and you massively support us here as well then. But yeah, so we head back to Bahrain though. This circuit has delivered some chaotic races, it's safe to say, in the past in this series. I'm hoping today we can have a good run through, but I guess let's head straight into qualifying. Well, can we try and make it back-to-back pole positions then early on this season? That is the goal as we head out onto the circuit here in Bahrain. Obviously snatched that pole position away from Kimi Raikkonen last weekend. Very intrigued to see what McLaren can do this time round, as well as, of course, obviously 2003, only a year before Formula 1 did actually debut here in Sakir. It was Michael Schumacher that won that 2004 race. But yeah, I kind of always forget that the V10s did actually race around this circuit. But yeah, I'll be honest as well, I'm really struggling actually to try and find a rhythm here. Don't feel anywhere near as confident as I did last weekend out in Albert Park over one lap, already race pace at the moment. Just really struggling to kind of find something that works in this car there as well. Trying not to run wide through turn 10. Actually met the apex pretty nicely there and able to get the power down on the exit. Really just seem to be struggling though in actually trying to get the kind of all that power down. The traction bog here seems way worse than it did last weekend. Luckily got a lot of downforce through the corners though, and that's kind of where I'm trying to find a little bit of extra time around this venue. As you can see, we definitely close back in on Kimi up towards the top of the circuit there. One more corner to go though, and it looks like Raikkonen is about to storm to his first ever Formula 1 pole position. This relationship with McLaren already looking pretty good for him. There was a bit of a mistake through that final corner. Nicked the curb and that cost us speed on the exit. P5 in the end. Not fantastic, but could have been worse. Well, Ferrari looked like the team to beat last weekend. It could be McLaren though today. Coulthard and Kimi Raikkonen then will lock out the front row and the only drivers to get around this circuit in under 90 seconds. Michael Schumacher will line up third there, just ahead of Alonso and myself. Juan Pablo Montoya all the way down in 10th. He will not be too happy with that run there. As you can see, Ralf Schumacher and Felipe Massa right at the rear of the field. Takuma Sato, though, best of the back markers up in P17. No, Daniel Ricciardo at 13 years old is not racing in this series.
The stage is set for another enthralling race here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. A Ferrari stronghold in years gone by, but will they be able to add to their record today? Formula 1 returns to the desert today on this exceptional 3.36-mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities. It could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some point during the Grand Prix. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
Well, here we are then, trackside, ready for the Bahrain Grand Prix. And, well, Anthony Davidson, we've just got to give him a minute to run down to his car and get behind the wheel of his BAR there. But, yeah, the circuit, though, looking very, very cold tonight. I still want to try and make the one-stop happen, though. I don't know whether the team really kind of see it as viable. So we'll try and do... Oh, I have to start on the softs, don't I? Yeah, I forgot about that. So if we try and do medium and then try and take the hards there and maybe try and remove that strategy. We'll wait and see as to what happens with that. But yeah, I want to obviously just try and one-stop this one as best as we can tonight. 29 laps ahead of us, though, here from Sakir. Let's just do this thing. I'm going to try foot planted to the floor, ready for the launch. 5 red lights. It's going to be lights out, and away we go there. Foot right to the floor does not work. Michael Schumacher and Kimi Räikkönen will lead the way down towards that first corner there as Davidson immediately is going to try and look down our inside as well. I think we were 3 wide temporarily or through that first corner, but we'll get around the outside of a couple of people. I think there's been a bit of chaos behind, and just like in Australia, we've got a lap 1 safety car. We're running on board then just a little bit further behind. I believe it's going to be the Jordan of Takuma Sato. That might be Ralph Schumacher there as... Oh! That's just really, really scrappy through those first couple of corners. You can see the original contact. It's actually with the Jaguar on the inside there. That rips off the front wheel, and he just slides out into the side of Toyota there. 2 cars gone at the start of this race, and chaos yet again. Well, Jenson Button and Olivier Panis both with pretty good starts then in this race, but I think I want to get off of these soft compounded tyres as quickly as we can. They just don't feel like they're going to be a good race tyre this evening, so we're going to take the opportunity under the safety car to pit at the end of lap 1, bolt on a set of hards, and then basically just try and take him as far into the night as we possibly can. Make sure I don't get done for speeding into the pit lane there, as it looks like Mark Webber was the BAR that was involved in that contact. Yeah, Jacques Villeneuve and Ralph Schumacher are both out of the GP then very early on. We will be down to last place though, ready for the restart. So, once again, just like Australia, we've got to try and carve our way through the pack. Well, the safety car then is going to peel back into the pit lane at the end of lap 3, so we're going to have to try and start making some moves. Obviously, it's still Räikkönen leading the way, but Michael Schumacher now in hot pursuit of the McLaren. And let's see what we can do then. Obviously, it is going to be a critical few laps in this afternoon's running, but I'm hoping... You know, the likes of the Minardis shouldn't be all too fast, shouldn't be too difficult to get by. If we struggle with them, then we're definitely in for a world of hurt throughout the rest of the afternoon, as Nick Heifeld, well, immediately is going to try and give me a little bit of a squeeze. Oh, and there's chaos into turn 1. What has Heifeld done? I think that's going to be another safety car. And maybe now I'm remembering... Oh, no, it's green flag racing? How on earth are we going from that? I have no idea. And I mean, that's kind of a reminder of what used to happen when we used to come to this venue. Is it's just chaos down at the first corner there, and I think there's quite a few vehicles with front wing damage as well. Giancarlo Fisichella is definitely one of them. Felipe Massa is definitely another, as I mean, Felipe almost up into the top 10. What early on in this race, and while this is not ideal for me, because we are just having to try and avoid other cars littered around the circuit. Already down to 16 runners then in this afternoon's event, as Zot Baumgartner tries to get around the outside of Felipe and will make a bit of an error as well. I believe the top 10, they had no problems. But once again, yeah, Bahrain playing havoc early on this season. Just the drivers cannot work this place out. Since day 1 then in this series, I've actually ran simulation damage, and obviously we spoke about many times as to just how fragile the cars were. Pretty much until last season, any contact could risk losing a wheel. I don't know if 2003, whether the mod kind of goes back to that early damage model, but I guess that a lot of those cars survived that crash early on, but it definitely seems like you've got to be a bit more careful once again in wheel-to-wheel combat with other drivers here. We're just trying to take time out Jarno Trulli and Anthony Davidson. We're definitely still quick, but I think Schumacher now is actually leading the race. Well, Schumacher's still running about a second a lap faster than me right now, but obviously we are on the harder compounded tyre, so hopefully we're going to be able to extend these quite deep into the afternoon. I don't think we'll quite get to the end, because the wear on them definitely seems to be substantial enough, But I reckon if we could kind of get them to about lap 20, that would work out really nicely. As there we go, Michael into the pit lane then at the end of lap 7. So that's quite an early pit stop to be making in this GP there, as hopefully we can try and find a way around Jarno Trulli. But yeah, Michael, one of the only drivers that was able to make the one-stop work last weekend. Definitely not going to happen today. He's going to come out on mediums, and he's only, I think, going to be, what, a couple of cars behind me? It's not Baumgartner I get between us, but yeah, Schumacher's come out, and he's only 10 seconds behind me. This is the problem. Jarno Trulli is not that good in the corners, but he's very, very quick in a straight line. Sauber, obviously, using our Ferrari power units, have always been able to make that work for them over the last couple of seasons. Doesn't seem like they've started the year as strong as last season's car, but they're still looking pretty competitive at the moment. They're both cars running up inside the top 10. Is Jarno Trulli then going to try and just go a little bit defensive on us? I thought Sauber had an agreement not to fight Ferrari cars back in this time. There, it's down the inside. We'll go at turn 1. Look at that. Jarno Trulli's absolutely sold the dummy on me there around the outside. Luckily, we'll keep the nose there, but it's great to see the AI trying to fight those. You know, last couple of years, Ferrari and Williams have been so OP that kind of whenever anybody got close, you kind of just let you go. But yeah, Jarno Trulli not doing that today. Well, there we go. Starting to see a few more cars into the pit lane. Anthony Davidson, Olivier Panis, I believe Jenson Button, yeah, and his Renault car also in. So is David Coulthard there. So I believe Raikkonen's still leading the way out in front. Montoya now up into third though. Just tucked up behind Alexander Wirtz. A rough qualifying session yesterday. And obviously the Williams of previous years would just carve their way back to the front. That car definitely struggling. There we go. Wirtz, Montoya in, and I can only assume Raikkonen has peeled into the pit lane as well then. So we are going to lead the Grand Prix here, even if it's just temporarily. The big thing I'm interested though, is Raikkonen going to come out ahead of Michael Schumacher, our teammate, flying along now into the 1 minute 31s. And Schumacher, yeah, comfortably out in P2. Coulthard might even get ahead of Kimi Raikkonen here. No, he will not. But yeah, Schumacher, this Ferrari, maybe not the fastest in qualifying trim, but race pace, it looks incredibly competitive. But as we get to half distance then in this Grand Prix, one of my eyes is just glued on the top left-hand side of your screen, trying to monitor this gap to Michael Schumacher behind. Our teammate is definitely still quicker than me right now, but so is Raikkonen, so is Coulthard. Fernando Alonso, we're about able to keep pace with at the moment there. There we go, another fastest lap by the Michael. Tell you what, this season he could be dangerous, especially after the couple of collisions we had towards the end of the last campaign. I know Michael Schumacher will not give me an inch unless he absolutely has to there, but yeah, my plan is to try and box about the end of lap 20 or end of 19, take a set of medium tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. I don't really know what Schumacher's going to try. If I had to guess, I would think he's going to pit slightly earlier and potentially try and undercut us. As, oh, we've lost someone. And that, I think, has brought out a safety car. No, only a VSC. Well, there we go. A disappointing end. I believe that's to Jenson Button's afternoon here. The Renault, it might be pretty cold here in the desert, but it is still very dry. And yep, her first mechanical failure of the afternoon. Maybe the first mechanical failure of the year. There we go. Michael Schumacher will dive into the pit lane at the end of lap 17. So Raikkonen now will re-inherit P2 here. And over the last couple of laps, he's been going quicker than Michael Schumacher. But these are going to be a critical couple of laps for ourselves and our teammate. We know Michael, he's bolted on a set of hards to go to the end of the afternoon. Could I potentially risk a set of softs and hopefully have a bit of extra pace? These hard tyres have done alright, but I just don't think the soft compound will last as well as I want them to towards the end of the afternoon. Annoyingly, Olivier Panis moves up to P5, so I can't even see where Schumacher is on the circuit. But yeah, we're going to box the end of next lap and just pray that we come out ahead of the German. Well, although these hard tyres have felt pretty durable, they've honestly felt like something you'd want to put on your road car, not a Formula 1 car here. They just don't feel that responsive. They feel very, very understeery when you try and get the power down. But luckily, well, I'm hoping the mediums are going to be a little bit better towards the end of the afternoon. I don't even know what strategy McLaren are doing. Maybe they're trying to one-stop this Grand Prix. But I would be quite surprised if they're able to make that happen. It's into the pits. I'm such an idiot 5-second penalty for speeding. 51 miles an hour on entry. That is a really, really stupid error in this Grand Prix. His 2.6 second stop, though, isn't too bad. Going Raikkonen also in, Fernando Alonso into the pit lane as well. But it's those kind of mistakes that can cause so much damage by the end of a World Championship, as Michael Schumacher, another new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Is our teammate going to get the jump on us? By the time we make it in towards turn 1 there, we're going to be wheel to wheel. But we will just hang on ahead of the Michael, get the power down on the exit there. Are we going to be vulnerable as we make our way up the hill? I have opted for a slight reduction in front wing angle as well, but Michael Schumacher, we are on cold tyres there. He is going to try and capitalise at the top of the circuit, and Schumacher will storm by and up into the lead, well, up into the net lead of the Grand Prix. Coulthard there still out on the circuit. You can just see how much we're struggling to get temperature in these tyres. Oh, come on, just warm up, please. These tyres today have been awful. Raikkonen then has found a way around Alexander Wurz here. David Coulthard in the other McLaren into the pit lane then. So I'm hoping we can keep this 5-second gap ahead of the Finn there, as Coulthard, he will come out shortly behind Kimi Raikkonen, but not too far back from him. Maybe some McLaren battles in the dying stages of this Grand Prix could really do us a favour. I know it's pretty much impossible now for us to beat Schumacher with the penalty, but I'd still love to try and beat him on the road. Oh, that's not what we need. Just counting down the laps towards the end of the afternoon, and Raikkonen, he's still setting new fastest laps of the day here. I can't help but feel that we're going to end up finishing behind both of these McLarens, but tonight in Bahrain, Michael Schumacher, he seems to have the measure over the rest of the field. Yeah, even I cannot get close to him, so although Albert Park looked good, looks like Schumacher's going to make it 2 from 2 this year, but it's just where will I finish? Coulthard seems to be struggling a little bit towards the end, but Raikkonen, he might catch me up and overtake me on the road. Well, just over 1 lap to go then, and we have been monitoring the gap to David Coulthard, and we are right on the cusp of the 5 seconds that we need. Raikkonen and Schumacher, they've been on another level over the pair of us today, so we need to go back to the drawing board and work out what is going wrong right now. But Schumacher, the decisive difference for him is just that ability to get the tyres up to temperature a little bit quicker than those McLaren cars can. The gap to DC, though, 4.9 seconds with 1 lap to go, so we need to absolutely nail basically a qualifying lap here on the final lap of the Grand Prix. I'm a bit annoyed with how long it's taken me to work out to put the car in standard through the corners, just so we get a little bit easier traction on the exit and then flick it back up. But that line up the top of the hill there, that might be the difference maker at the end of this Grand Prix, trying to utilise the curbing, throwing this car around this venue. I know roughly what we need the gap to be as we make our way out of this corner, because this is definitely where the McLaren absolutely comes alive relative to the Ferrari there. I just cannot make it work through that corner, and you can see the gap to Coulthard will come down just a little bit more once again there. Annoying that this penalty is definitely going to cost us P2, and what would have been Ferrari's first 1-2 of the season. But is it going to cost us a podium opportunity as well? We cannot let Schumacher build up a big enough buffer at the top of the World Championship. 4.7 seconds now to David Coulthard. 1 more corner to go. Michael Schumacher is going to make it 2 from 2, and the dream start to this World Championship just gets a little bit better for him. Fastest lap as well, right at the end, through the final corner. It's only P4.
Smiling faces on the pit wall after a superb win here at Sakir, and rightly so. What a brilliant effort from the whole team. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
There we are then, Michael Schumacher from P3 on the grid, despite McLaren looking the better car in qualifying trim. He will take victory here in Sakir there. Annoying, that little mistake at the top of the hill might just have cost us the head of David Coulthard, but it is going to be back-to-back P4s early on this year there, with both McLarens now joining Schumacher on the podium. Fernando Alonso, another good drive to P5 there ahead of Olivier Panis. Juan Pablo Montoya, a bit shaky for him, but I'm sure he'll turn it around next weekend there, beating out Verts Davidson and Jarno Trulli inside your top 10 there. Zob Baumgartner just misses out ahead of Fisichella, Barrichello and Takuma Sato, with Button, Webber, Heidfeld, I believe that is Jacques Villeneuve, isn't it, and Ralf Schumacher, all failing to see the checkered flag. What does that do to our championship, though? Well, it means Schumacher now has a 25-point lead at the top. Alonso, Raikkonen, Montoya, and myself, as well as David Coulthard, all separated by just 2 points at the moment, though. A three-way tie for P3 early on this season. So yeah, things looking pretty good for Michael at the top of the table there. Baumgartner gets dropped down to P7. Panis jumps Verts as well, with Button dropping down the order and Anthony Davidson getting his first points on the board. Jarno Trulli, back-to-back P10 finishes there. Constructors-wise, Ferrari dominate, 25 ahead of Williams. McLaren still in P3 ahead of BAR. Sauber and Renault now both on double digits. And Toyota, Jaguar, Jordan and Minardi still yet to score. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for, I believe, the Chinese Grand Prix.